After senior year exams, my online boyfriend suggested we finally meet in person. I replied nervously, I'm afraid you'll be disappointed when you see me. After all, my grades were average and my looks were nothing special. I didn't feel like a match for Christopher Maxwell, the school's star athlete and academic ace. But he sent a voice message, a soft chuckle in my ear. Silly girl, I've had a pretty good idea who you are all along. Just you wait. Tomorrow I've got a surprise for you. I spent the entire night a bundle of nerves and secret delight, rushing to our agreed-upon meeting spot first thing the next morning, only to find him surrounded by cheering students and smiling teachers, all eyes on him, declaring his love to my family's housekeeper's daughter. Get together. Get together. Get together. Students cheered, circling the two of them. Even the teachers were all smiles, clearly thrilled for them. Finally, Sophia Reed smiled, her lips pressed together, as she accepted the roses and diamond bracelet Christopher held out. Thank you, Chris. She looked up into Christopher's smiling eyes. I accept. Instantly the crowd erupted, swirling around the pair. He was the sole heir to one of Fairhaven's most prominent families, the school's golden boy, a living legend. She was a small-town girl from humble beginnings, yet the top student, the pure and sweet campus darling. A real-life Prince and Cinderella story. It was impossibly romantic. Only I stood apart, unremarkable. Even though I'd carefully dressed up today just for Christopher, the most I got was a passing classmate's casual remark. Hey Audrey, that dress looks pretty good on you today. They complimented the dress, not me. Two other classmates quickly pulled her away. Why are you even talking to her? Wearing that on a day like this? She's probably doing it on purpose. It's pathetic, honestly. Miss Audrey Finch trying her absolute hardest to compete with her own housekeeper's daughter, and still losing every single time. If I were her parents, I'd be furious. Forget her. Look, Chris and Sophia are holding hands. Wow, this is truly a love story for the ages. I heard Chris secretly crushed on Sophia for a whole year, waiting until after exams to confess. I'm so jealous. You guys are just finding out? I noticed ages ago. Whenever Sophia went to the campus grove to study or fed the stray cats outside the dorms, I'd see Chris hiding in the shadows, secretly watching her. Really? That's so sweet. See, being from a good family doesn't mean anything. Chris's taste isn't that shallow. Exactly. Some people, like a total weirdo, deliberately walk past Chris's class every other day, or go to the track to watch him play ball, and still can't get his attention. They glanced at me as they spoke. I clutched the hem of my skirt, lowered my head and turned to leave. All the words I prepared for Christopher remained stuck in my throat. It seemed I had simply misunderstood. All year, Christopher had been my online boyfriend, listening to me, helping me vent my frustrations, even tutoring me to improve my grades, all because he'd mistaken me for Sophia. Today was graduation. After we took our class photo, Liam, the class president, suggested a dinner party. Thanks to Sophia, Chris is footing the bill for our class tonight. Immediately applause erupted. Sophia blushed, accepting everyone's congratulations and envy. She then walked over to me, her voice soft and hesitant. Audrey, you'll come to dinner tonight, won't you? Since the exam results came out, you haven't spoken to me. I don't know what I did to upset you, but Chris and I are heading to Northwood University in 2 months, and who knows when we'll see each other again. Would you be willing to make up with me? The class fell silent. Everyone watched me, their gazes hard to read. I gathered my things and stood up. You all go have fun. I won't be joining. With that, I turned and walked out of the classroom. Behind me, low whispers began again. Seriously, what's her deal? The top student is practically begging her to make up. What's she playing at? Total princess syndrome, I guess. Thinks her family's money makes her special, always picking on Sophia. I quickened my pace, practically fleeing. It wasn't until I reached the school gates that I squatted down, hugging my knees tightly. On my phone, Christopher's chat was still pinned at the top of my messaging app. His profile picture was a little orange cat I'd drawn for him myself. The same stray I always fed outside the dorms. He told me I had real artistic talent, that I was the best artist he'd ever seen. He'd even asked me, when we officially get together, will you draw us a pair of matching profile pictures? I actually had them ready. I planned to send them to him today. But now, I gritted my teeth, found the hand-drawn avatars in my gallery, and along with his contact, hit the delete button. I just pretend those beautiful 300+ days were nothing but a teenage dream. The dream was over. Everything was back to how it was. When I arrived home, Mom was on the phone in the living room. Sophia, have you decided between Northwood and Eastbrook yet? Excellent, excellent. When school starts, I'll send someone to drive you and your mother there for orientation. Don't be silly, you're practically family. You're so brilliant. I'd love nothing more than to adopt you as my goddaughter. Only after she hung up did Mom look up, her gaze chilling as she swept over me. She snorted. You actually have the nerve to come back. I hired elite tutors for you for an entire year. Spent hundreds of thousands on tuition alone. And what did you get? 8 points above the minimum admission score. A full 80 points lower than Sophia. How much worry have I endured for you all these years? And you? You're heartless, going out dressed so provocatively. You might not be ashamed, but I am. Maria Reed, Sophia's mother, emerged from the kitchen. Seeing Mom lash out at me again, she smiled gently, trying to soothe her. Please don't be angry, Mrs. Finch. Perhaps Miss Audrey simply isn't cut out for academics. You could try finding other talents she has. I think Miss Audrey is quite good at drawing. Maybe she could go to art school. Mom's face, however, darkened further. The prestigious Finch family of Fairhaven, spending hundreds of thousands just to produce an art student? If that got out, how would I ever hold my head high again? She finished, glaring fiercely at me. What are you staring at? Get upstairs and study. Whether you like it or not, you're taking that prep course. I silently went upstairs and closed my bedroom door. My chest felt numb. I seemed to be growing immune to Mom's words. Her tenderness towards Sophia, she used to show me that too. But ever since she found out Dad was seeing someone else 3 years ago, she changed. Dad was cunning though. She still hadn't managed to figure out who the other woman was. Only once when Dad was drunk did I hear him mumble, "Don't worry, your daughter is my daughter too." That's how Mom learned the other woman also had a daughter. From that day on, Mom often said to me, "Audrey, you have to work hard, understand? You are a legitimate Finch daughter. You absolutely cannot be outdone by that outsider. From today on, besides piano, dance, and chess, you also need to bring up your academic grades. Get to first in class, first in the grade, first in the whole city. Otherwise, your mother and I will truly have no hope left." I was young then, not fully understanding what was happening between Mom and Dad. But for Mom's expectations, I gritted my teeth and gave it my all. Initially, after Mom poured money into my tutoring, my grades did improve significantly. Until 2 years ago, when Sophia and her mother came to live with us. Maria Reed was the housekeeper Mom had carefully chosen. But Maria had been divorced years ago, raising her daughter alone. To ensure she could focus on caring for my daily needs, Mom invited Sophia to live with us as well. That girl is your age, but her grades are much better than yours. From now on, you'll study with her. Ask her if you don't understand something. Mom even allowed Sophia to sit in on my elite tutoring sessions. But whenever the tutor explained problems to me, Sophia would always chime in looking troubled. "Teacher, I already know all these problems. Can you teach us something else? Our time is so precious. I can just help Audrey with these basic concepts later. Teacher, I think English and literature rely more on daily accumulation. We can just memorize more on our own. Could you teach us some math and physics competition problems?" No teacher dislikes a student who is bright, grasps things quickly, and excels academically. So the one-on-one sessions, originally tailored for me, gradually shifted their focus to Sophia. I tried to voice my concerns to Mom, but Mom looked at me exasperated. "Audrey, what is wrong with you? Why is it that Sophia learns these problems instantly, but you don't? Are you even paying attention in class?" To make me focus on studying, Mom confiscated all my toys and pretty clothes, banning me from all recreational activities. She even gave away my ragdoll kitten. Gradually, my daily life, apart from eating and sleeping, consisted only of studying, doing problems, and reviewing. I even swallowed my pride and asked Sophia for help with problems. But she would just scribble down an answer, then tell me earnestly, "Audrey, there are no shortcuts to learning. If you don't understand, just practice more. As long as you try hard, you'll eventually get it." And so, my grades never significantly improved. Mom's outbursts of anger towards me became more frequent. Finally, during the summer between junior and senior year, I developed severe academic burnout. When Mom found out, she slapped me hard. "Worthless. I spent so much money just for you to give up on yourself. Sophia came from a small town school and she's doing so well. And you? Where have all your years of schooling gone? If it weren't for you, I would have divorced your father ages ago. Why would I stay here and suffer so much?" In an emotional breakdown, I posted an anonymous confessional on the school forum. Why do I try so hard and still can't do well, still can't satisfy Mom? I don't deserve to be Mom's daughter. Would Mom be free if I just died? Christopher appeared then. Just as I posted it and hid under my covers, silently crying. He sent me his first private message. "What problems don't you understand? Send them to me." His appearance was like a ray of light in my darkness. At first, I didn't know the person tutoring me every night was him. It wasn't until one time when a teacher projected his exemplary essay on the board that I recognized his handwriting. In that moment, I was overwhelmed. After all, he was known throughout school as the elusive golden boy. But online he would joke with me. "Silly girl, I've explained this problem to you twice already. If you still don't get it a third time, I'm going to have to punish you." I blushed on my end of the phone, asking him how he planned to punish me. On his end, he was typing for a long time before sending a voice message. His voice was deep and mellow. "It's a secret for now. I'll punish you when we meet." Ambiguous feelings, like paint unexpectedly dripping into water, spread and colored my entire senior year. But facing him, I couldn't help but feel insecure. After all, Mom always said I wasn't smart enough, and not as pretty as Sophia. A wildflower from the countryside could shine so brightly, while I, a hothouse flower, failed to impress anyone. Because of this, I didn't dare reveal my identity, yet I couldn't resist sharing little snippets of my daily life with him. For example, today during lunch break, I went to the campus grove to study vocabulary again, but I accidentally fell asleep. His tone was a bit stern. Could you be any more careless? What if you ran into trouble? Or, I came online late today because I met up with a good friend. Oh really? A boy or a girl? He even added a warning emoji. I couldn't help but smile at my screen, sending him a picture of me feeding sausages to the little orange cat. It's the kitten from outside our dorms. He was silent for a long time, then sent a message. Very pretty. Your hands, they're very pretty. I secretly delighted in this and we made a date. After exams, I'd let him hold my hand. But I never expected that when that day finally came, the hand he affectionately held was someone else's. For 3 weeks, I didn't leave my room except to sketch in the garden when the house was empty. I stopped attending the preparatory classes my mother had signed me up for. For the first time in my life, when she screamed at me, calling me a disappointment, an embarrassment to the Finch name, I didn't cry. I simply looked at her, my eyes flat and quiet, until she turned on her heel and slammed my door shut. The silence that followed was peaceful. Meanwhile, the city of Fairhaven was buzzing with news of the golden couple. Christopher and Sophia were seen everywhere together. High-end cafes, the country club, charity galas. Everyone praised Christopher's devotion and Sophia's grace. Yet, beneath the polished surface of their fairy tale, the first hairline cracks had already begun to form. Started with a cat. Christopher had invited Sophia to a coffee shop near the campus grove. As they sat on the patio, the little orange stray cat, the one I had fed every afternoon for a year, wandered over, rubbing its head against Christopher's sneakers. Christopher's face lit up with a rare, genuine warmth. He reached down, scratching the cat behind its ears exactly the way I used to describe in my messages. Look who came to say goodbye before we leave for Northwood, Christopher said, softly, looking up at Sophia with expectant eyes. Do you have any of those chicken sausages in your bag today? Sophia froze. She looked down at the stray with a flick of unmistakable disgust, quickly pulling her cream-colored designer dress away from its paws. Chris, it's a stray. It probably has fleas, she said, her voice strained, despite her sweet smile. Why would I carry cat sausages in my purse? That's so unhygienic. Christopher's hand halted mid-stroke. He stared at Sophia, his sharp brows furrowing slightly. You told me you always kept a pack in your bag for him. You sent me a picture of your hands, feeding him right outside the dorms. Sophia's heart skipped a beat. Panic flared in her chest, but she quickly smoothed her expression, letting out a soft, melodious laugh. Oh, that. She reached out, touching his wrist playfully. Chris, that was months ago. The weather got warm and the sausages would spoil in my bag. Didn't think you'd remember such a little thing. Christopher didn't smile back. His dark eyes searched her face, analyzing every subtle twitch of her expression. And the drawing? Christopher asked, his voice dropping into a quiet, measuring tone. The matching profile pictures you promised to draw for us after exams. Have you finished them? Sophia's smile stiffened completely. She had never touched a sketchbook in her life. I've been so busy preparing for Northwood, she stammered, biting her lip nervously. And my wrist has been hurting from all the exam writing. Can't we just use a photo of us instead? Christopher slowly pulled his hand back from the cat. He looked down at his phone, opening his archived files. The hand-drawn orange cat, the one I had drawn for him, looked back at him from the screen. The lines were delicate, confident, and full of soul. Sophia couldn't even draw a straight line without a ruler. A cold, uneasy knot began to tighten in Christopher's stomach. While Christopher's doubts were brewing, the storm inside the Finch household finally exploded. It happened on a rainy Thursday afternoon. My father had returned home, unannounced, accompanied by his lawyer, demanding a formal division of property for a divorce. My mother stood in the living room, her face pale with fury. Divorce? You want a divorce now after all these years? Who is she, Richard? Who is the woman you've been hiding? My father let out a cold, weary sneer. You really don't know, Catherine? Or are you just playing blind? He turned his eyes toward the hallway staircase. Maria Reed, holding a tray of tea, froze at the top of the landing. Sophia stood right behind her, dressed in a custom silk dress my mother had bought for her just last week. My father walked over to the coffee table, tossing a thick manila folder onto the glass top. Read it yourself, my father said calmly. DNA test results. Financial statements going back 15 years. I've been paying Maria's rent, Sophia's tuition, and their living expenses since the day Sophia was born. My mother's breath hitched. She scrambled for the folder, her trembling fingers tearing it open. I stood by the doorway watching the scene unfold with an eerie hollow detachment. The documents left no room for doubt. Sophia Reed wasn't just the housekeeper's daughter. She was my father's biological child. My half-sister. My mother stared at the paper, her eyes widening in horror as the truth shattered her entire world. For 3 years she had lavished affection on her husband's love child. She had invited the mistress into her home, fed her, clothed her, and held her up as the golden standard of perfection. She had stripped her own biological daughter of her clothes, her toys, her self-esteem, and her dignity, all to groom her husband's illegitimate child into a star. You. My mother turned toward Maria, her voice breaking into a ragged, blood-curdling shriek. You bitch. She lunged at Maria, but my father stepped in, shoving my mother back onto the sofa. Sophia immediately rushed down the stairs, throwing her arms around Maria, tears streaming down her face with practiced perfection. Mom. Dad. Please don't fight. If it's my fault, I'll leave. I'll give everything back to Audrey. Give it back. My mother laughed hysterically, tears streaming down her ruined makeup. What can you give back? You stole my life. You stole my husband. You made me abuse my own child. My mother turned her bloodshot eyes toward me, reaching out a trembling hand. Audrey. Audrey, my sweet girl. Come here. Look what they did to us. I didn't move. I kept my hands folded behind my back, looking at her with cold, unblinking clarity. You did it to yourself, Mom, I said softly. My mother froze as if she had been slapped. I tried to tell you, I continued, my voice steady and quiet. I told you the tutors weren't teaching me. I told you Sophia was taking my study time. I told you I was drowning. But you told me I was worthless. You told me I wasn't smart enough, pretty enough, or good enough. Audrey. She sobbed. You didn't love me because I was your daughter, I said, stepping back into the shadow of the hallway. You only wanted a trophy to win against a woman you were terrified of. And now you have nothing. I turned my back on the chaotic room, walked upstairs, and locked my door. 2 days before the university departure date, the Finch scandal broke out. Across Fairhaven's high society, the news that Sophia Reed was an illegitimate child, and that her mother had infiltrated the Finch household as a housekeeper, spread like wildfire. The pure, humble campus darling was overnight exposed as a calculating social climber. That same evening, Christopher arrived at the Finch estate. He hadn't come to comfort Sophia. He came because he had spent 48 hours going through every single piece of data on his old messaging app. He stood in the torrential rain outside our front gates, holding a sleek black iPad in his hand. When I walked out with an umbrella to throw away a box of my old sketches, I found him standing there, drenched to the bone, his eyes bloodshot and dark with a terrifying hollow panic. Audrey, he rasped, his voice trembling in the cold wind. I stopped 10 feet away from him, holding my umbrella high. Mr. Maxwell. You're looking for Sophia. She's packing her bags in the guest house. Christopher didn't look toward the guest house. His eyes were locked on me, on my pale face, my quiet posture, and the old canvas bag slung over my shoulder. He raised the iPad. On the screen was the 3D mathematical proof he had explained to his online girlfriend 6 months ago. The third step, Christopher said, his voice cracking violently. The formula I used to solve the calculus problem on November 14th. What was the shortcut I taught you? I stared at him, my expression unreadable. Why are you asking me, Chris? I asked softly. Your girlfriend is Northwood's top student. She should know. Christopher took 3 long strides toward me, stepping out of the rain and under the edge of my umbrella. His hands were shaking so hard the iPad nearly slipped from his grip. She didn't know, he choked out, tears mixing with the rainwater on his face. She didn't know the calculus shortcut. She didn't know the name of the orange cat. She doesn't know how to draw. She didn't even know what the golden ratio in classical sketching meant when I brought it up today. He stared down at me, his chest heaving as if he couldn't get enough air into his lungs. It was you, he whispered, a sound of absolute, agonizing realization breaking from his throat. It was always you. The girl who fell asleep in the grove. The girl who drew the cat. The girl who stayed on the phone with me until midnight. I looked at him quietly. There was no anger in my heart. No bitter triumph. Just a vast empty stillness. Yes, I admitted smoothly. It was me. Christopher let out a ragged sob, dropping to his knees on the wet pavement, right in front of me. He reached out, his trembling fingers trying to grasp the hem of my skirt, exactly like a desperate beggar. Audrey, I'm sorry. God, I'm so sorry. He wept, burying his face in his hands. I saw her wearing your hair tie, holding the cat food, sitting in the grove. Thought I thought she was you. I was so blind, Audrey. I was such a fool. You weren't blind, Chris, I said, my voice as calm as still water. You were just shallow. Christopher froze, looking up at me through his tears. You like the idea of a Prince and Cinderella story, I continued, looking down at the golden boy of Fairhaven who was now broken at my feet. You wanted a sweet, helpless, brilliant girl from a humble background to validate your savior complex. You saw what you wanted to see. You didn't care about the soul behind the screen. You just wanted the prettiest trophy to put on your arm. No, that's not true, Christopher pleaded, grabbing the edge of my coat. I loved your mind. I loved your humor, your art, your gentle heart. Audrey, please, give me a chance to fix this. I'll break up with her right now. I'll tell the whole school the truth. I gently, firmly pulled my coat out of his grip. It's too late, Chris, I said. I deleted your contact 3 weeks ago. The girl who waited for you in the rain is already dead. The next day was the official farewell banquet hosted by the school for the Northwood and Eastbrook signees. It was held at the Grand Ballroom of the Grand Hyatt. All the prominent families, teachers, and top graduates were in attendance. Sophia had spent hours dressing up, wearing an expensive white gown, trying desperately to maintain her composure despite the whispers circulating about her real identity. She clung to Christopher's arm the moment he entered the hall. Chris, she whispered sweetly, her eyes brimming with fake vulnerability. People are saying terrible things about my mom. You still believe in me, right? We're going to Northwood together. Christopher didn't look at her. His face was ghastly pale, his eyes dead and hollow. Suddenly, the heavy double doors of the ballroom opened. A group of representatives from the National Academy of Fine Arts, the most prestigious art institution in the country, walked in accompanied by the school principal. Attention everyone, the principal announced, his voice booming through the microphone. We have a historic announcement. Miss Audrey Finch has just been awarded a full direct entry scholarship to the National Academy's Advanced Fine Arts program. The room erupted into shocked gasps. Audrey Finch? The one with average grades. The National Academy only accepts 10 students nationwide per year. Look at the portfolio on the screen. The grand projector screen behind the stage lit up, displaying my portfolio. It was a series of breathtaking large-scale oil paintings depicting light breaking through dark, suffocating spaces. The technical skill, the raw emotion, and the profound soul embedded in every brushstroke left the entire room breathless. In the bottom corner of every canvas was my signature, and a small, beautifully detailed sketch of an orange cat. Sophia's face drained of every last drop of blood. She stared at the screen, her lips trembling in sheer terror as she recognized the artistic style Christopher had praised for an entire year. Christopher stood frozen in the middle of the hall. He slowly turned his head toward Sophia. His dark eyes were filled with an icy, terrifying disgust that made Sophia take a sharp step back. You stole her study spots, Christopher rasped, his voice echoing through the quiet ballroom as he pulled his arm out of her grip. You took her cat food. You wore her clothes. You listened to her phone calls and copied her answers. Christopher, listen to me. Sophia panicked, reaching for him. Get your hands off me, Christopher roared, shoving her away so hard she stumbled onto the floor, her white gown tearing against the edge of a table. The entire ballroom gasped. Ladies and gentlemen, Christopher turned to face the crowd, his voice raw, hoarse, and filled with public humiliation. I stand before you as the biggest idiot in Fairhaven. The girl I claim to love, the girl I confessed to at graduation, she is a fraud. She stole another girl's identity, another girl's art, and another girl's life. He looked directly at Sophia, who was cowering on the floor, crying hysterically, as cameras flashed in her face. Our relationship is over, Christopher announced coldly. And Mercer Enterprises will be canceling all sponsorship deals with the Reed family, effective immediately. 2 months later, the autumn wind blew softly across the campus of the National Academy of Fine Arts in the capital city. I sat on a wooden bench near the central fountain, holding a warm cup of coffee, sketching the historical architecture around me. My mother had entered a private therapy clinic to rebuild her mental health. She sent me weekly letters, no longer demanding perfection but simply asking if I was eating well. I replied politely, maintaining a peaceful, healthy distance. My father's reputation was ruined in high society, and Maria and Sophia had quietly left Fairhaven after being ostracized by everyone they knew. My phone chimed on the bench. It was a text from an unknown number. I'm standing by the front gate of your academy. I bought a pack of chicken sausages for the stray cat near your studio. Can I see you for 5 minutes? I looked at the message for a long moment. Then I casually swiped left, selected block number, and cleared the notification. I stood up, adjusting my canvas bag over my shoulder, and walked toward the bright, sunlit art studio ahead. The teenage dream was over, and my real life had just begun.